Swami Rama said this, which is a very fascinating quote. He said, all of the body is in the mind, but not all of the mind is in the body. All of the body is in the mind, but not all of the mind is in the body. If you think about that carefully, that single quote has a huge import, because he's saying your entire existence of what you think is flesh and bone is already contained in the mind. But do you know what your mind is? No, you don't, because you've not been trained on what the mind is in your schooling system. So you have no idea how it works. You have no idea how big it is. You have no idea how powerful it is. And if you did, you would then be able to tap into that over 90% of your brain potential that you never know about.
Why don't you introduce yourself and we'll go from there?
Sure, absolutely. My name's Raj. I'm a wellness and lifestyle coach. Specifically, I'm also a relationships coach for women. Have been doing that for the last 15 years, have coached thousands of women from all walks of life. Every scenario you can imagine that a woman could go through in a relationship, I've pretty much seen it. And in most cases, solved those issues. But I do have a lot of repeat clients who find certain challenges quite troublesome. So they have to come back and relearn some principles, and some find it difficult to apply to their actual lives. I'm dedicated to helping people move past their plateaus and to unveil the happiest, most positive version of themselves.
Beautiful. And do you want to talk about your breath work?
Absolutely. A bit of a backstory. Nowadays, on all the podcasts we're doing, Michael, we're breaking down the walls of the old social narrative, and we're not scared to say anything anymore, like as long as it's respectful. We pretty much go all out and break up all the old guard, the status quo, all that stuff. People are suffering for nothing. And people like us, we have to get together and show people new ways, new paradigms, so they can enjoy a more fulfilling life for themselves and by extension for others as well. We don't live on an island. We all work together. We collaborate in this world. We have to work together, and it's better if it's all pleasant and genuinely, not like we're backbiting or having a passive aggressive behavior. It's better to actually feel genuine and bring the best you have to the table, and everybody sleeps better, enjoys the whole process as it unfolds. So backstory, I'm 3 years old. My mother takes me to nursery in London where I'm born. We potter about a little bit and we end up in the library. I take 2 books off the shelf for the first time in my life. One is a book on dinosaurs. Another book is about planets. So for whatever reason, the images of those books imprinted themselves on my mind. They guided me in my life more so than my conventional education ever could. I'm glad that happened, because it allowed me to venture off into different realms of thought and perception to come to a vaster understanding of what human life is and what potential is and what we should be doing, how we should interact with others and the rest of it. When I was 18, I went to India for the first time. That was a pivotal moment because I met a full-blown avatar called Sai Baba. That was unbelievable because I thought I knew something. Being from London and reading all the textbooks that we've been given in school, I thought I was pretty proud and obnoxious, I have to admit. But when I went to India and I saw this avatar, I was like, oh dear, what have I been doing? Because he's so powerful, full of unconditional love. It just radiates. You cannot fathom how vast their electromagnetic energy is. And I was in the presence of him several times, and his energy got into my mind, into my brain, and I just started having a much higher quality narrative that started causing me to question everything, all right? Everything. And it never left. That energy never left. Once it gets into you, it works its way out so that it gets you on the track. No matter what you think, there's a pattern in the universe that is far more intelligent than we can ever be. And we need to tap into that. We need to tune into it and let that guide us. Often it's not things with your eyes. It's not things you necessarily hear with your physical ears. You've got to go deep within to attune yourself to the inner messages. So that's what I've been doing, practicing yoga and meditation for 25 to 30 years. Metaphysics, philosophy, psychology, understanding spirituality and your real self.
What happened to you around the age of 29?
I was studying Tibetan Buddhism between the ages of 22 and 30. I think I had some breakthroughs by studying around that age.
That's your first Saturn return, and that represents a major maturation point in your life journey. There's an exploration here of your relationship with authority, structure, and responsibility that would transform you during this period and can provide insight into your development as a teacher and a guide. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, totally. Totally. I was always looking for the real paradigm that you could lock into and know that you wouldn't regret it later in life. Stephen Covey says if you got the ladder on the wrong wall and you go to the top of the ladder and then you realize, oh dear, all that time and energy is wasted because I should have been on this wall instead. And it would have been the same time and energy that you spent on the right wall as opposed to the wrong one.
How did your understanding of your responsibilities and contributions deepen during this time period when you were studying Tibetan Buddhism?
I knew there's a lot of deep philosophical learnings and wisdom in the Tibetan canons, in the Tibetan books of the dead, Tibetan book of secret yoga and doctrines and all these kinds of things. I realized that these things are not being talked about in society. Hardly anyone's talking about these things. Yet, if you don't know them, you will die with a lot of regret. And if you didn't share them, you'll also die with a lot of regret. So I tried to understand that world and that culture and immerse myself in it to be able to speak it naturally, like I'm not forcing it like a scholar. Because if you just learn something from a book, but you haven't embodied it, it's like when you talk, people, it doesn't do anything. People just ignore you. But when you know you've embodied the meaning and absorbed the wisdom, and now you see through that particular higher level lens or point of view, then people start to listen to you because you're vibrating at that frequency of what you're thinking and feeling. It's not just data from a book that you're spewing out and you have no feeling connected to it.
That's really interesting you say that. Your soul's journey follows the mythic pattern of the hero who moves from gathering fragments to synthesizing wisdom. Imagine someone who once collected fascinating stones, but you now craft them into beautiful mosaics that reveal profound patterns. The patterns in your chart or your past patterns were about gathering information without integration. Now the calling is for you to distill this knowledge into wisdom that transforms lives. And this evolutionary direction aligns with your 15 years of relationship coaching and the development of your breathing method. You're not only sharing information, but transmuting it into gold through your philosophical perspectives.
Yeah, exactly.
So, looking at your journey from information seeker to wisdom teacher, what crucial insights enabled you to make this evolutionary leap? And how has this transformation changed not just what you teach, but how you teach it?
That's a fantastic question. I don't know how long we have on this podcast. I'll try to make it as succinct as possible. The good thing is, I'm so grateful and humbled that I can teach the conceptual framework and then fill it in with passion, with love, with care, because I also want people to save themselves from suffering and misery by understanding the correct frameworks of what works and what doesn't. To answer your question, it's been understanding what is the core of life. What is the thing you really should be focused on? How does the universe operate? What is the proper OS, the operating system on this planet, between humans, in the cosmos? What is it? What is that fundamental core that if you miss, you'll miss everything? But if you've embraced that, you would have embraced everything. As Sai Baba says, being in his actual presence, with that having that full electromagnetic exchange is a totally different thing. I can't even put it into words. But he was all about unconditional love. Coming back to the core of your question, it's all about embodying to the best of your ability unconditional love. And everything else comes from that. If I spew off a whole load of wisdom and I can't help anyone with it, what's the point? There's no point. So that's where everything you learn has to be served or used in the utility of others as well as yourself. So you can expand that idea and benefit others. The law of karma kicks in and you get back what you put out, sometimes a lot more. Make sure your frequency alignment, precision and focus of giving is aligned with your intentions so that you build and expand and compound that idea and benefit more and more people, as many as you possibly can.
The image I get in my mind are two cosmic dancers. One is innovative and one is visionary. They're engaged in an internal dance of balance. This cosmic choreography explains your natural gift for relationship coaching. because you understand both the need for individual authenticity and the desire for recognition and connection. Like a master choreographer who can help couples find their rhythm together while honoring each person's unique dance style, I see that you guide others through the delicate balance of self and other. And in watching countless relationship dynamics through your coaching practice, what patterns have you observed in how people navigate their need for both individuality and connection?
That's a great question. I think being able to have a really open mind into understanding, okay, we go to the very core of everything. We strip everything back to its fundamental core, which I've had to do, to be honest. And it was very difficult for me because I had to get over my own limited ideas to be able to see how things should be or how people should be thinking. Who am I to be saying all this? I'm just a human being like everyone else with their own challenges. But I had to transcend my own faulty conditioning to then clearly see the causes of things and how you could fix things if they were not working well. So we strip everything back to the two core basics. Everything in the universe is consciousness and energy. These are the two fundamentals. There's no point trying to debate it. Once we understand that everything's an interplay or a variation on that theme, consciousness. So when I do that from that point of view, the point of all of us being incarnate on this planet is to enjoy life, to enjoy the people we're with, to get the most out of each other, to get the maximum amount of growth and the maximum amount of satisfaction, joy, wealth, health, energy, knowledge, wisdom, all of it. That's the real reason why we're here. So when I look at couples, I try to understand from their point of view, how are they seeing themselves and how are they seeing each other? Is it mostly a positive framework that allows them to grow? Or is there something like a bad habit or some belief, which is maybe negative or self-defeating, that is contaminating the mix and preventing them to move forward together? What is it? So I talk to them individually for 5-10 minutes, get a sense of their energy and what they're about. Because we've got the gift of communication, we're able to elucidate in a way that makes sense to them what we can see with our minds, plus the sort of practical application of that. We're born in the UK, we speak proper English, Queen's English, and they can relate to us, right? It's okay, you've made a high level concept relatable. So that's what I look at. I speak to them individually and then as a couple, and then understand how willing they are to reconcile and to get on the same wavelength or a better wavelength towards moving to a better future.
We've had a conversation beforehand, and you've brought together a community as well. And in reflecting back in the last couple of days, I sense you have quite an Olympian quality, your presence does. It's a bit like Zeus appearing in human form, but you radiate this unmistakable divine authority. The imagery that comes to mind is like a mountain spring that seems really small on the surface, but it connects to bottomless depths. This is how I see your spiritual wisdom, how it manifests through your personality. I think people sense something vast and boundless in your presence that transcends ordinary interactions. If I combine this with your Brahmin heritage and Vedantic knowledge, this creates an aura of spiritual authority that naturally inspires trust and openness in others. So the spiritual authority you carry seems less about formal position and more about authentic embodiment. How conscious are you of this quality in your interactions, and how has it evolved throughout your journey as a teacher and a guide?
That's again, fascinating question. Fascinating question. I think whenever you take up a spiritual practice, you become more and more conscious of your identity, like the things that you do. Does it conform to the best ideal that you have in mind about yourself? Are you rocking up as your ideal avatar for yourself? These words from Sanskrit, the amazing thing about it's not peculiarly just from India. It's the fact is that it's a cosmological language, Sanskrit. So words like avatar, nirvana, Buddha, yoga, guru, they're all in the vernacular of the world now. It's seeping through imperceptibly or perceptibly, whether it's in marketing or James Cameron's film Avatar or Avatar Last Airbender on Netflix or whatever. But these words, they're not going anywhere because they are cosmological concepts which will always remain true. Greek and Latin didn't necessarily have that deep sort of depth. They had massive civilizations, but when it comes to things like reincarnation, astrology, life force, they don't quite encapsulate it the same way the yoga traditions do. That language doesn't exist here. We're not familiar with how to communicate those concepts. If you live in the West and never go to the East, it may never exist for you. It's a question of relating back who I believe I am every single day with every decision and every interaction with other people, and reflecting back, am I rocking up as the avatar that I've elected to be? And have other people done that? Are they conscious of the role they're acting out? And if not, I like to add a bit of wisdom, a dash of an aphorism or a bit of philosophy to say, have you ever thought about this or that? What do you think? I do it in a fun, entertaining way. If you like it, if you don't, I'm here anyway, whether you want to come back to me. And I see people on the street that I've coached and get a high five, get a hug, get a thumbs up. And I love that because it helps me feel like, yeah, we're on track. We're putting out gratitude, getting the love back. We're putting the love back out. It's expanding. I hope that helps answer your question a little bit.
You taught me a technique with breath work called the 3-3 Metaverse Breathing Method. Breathwork sits at a fascinating intersection of ancient wisdom and modern science. When I look through the lenses of evolutionary astrology, depth psychology, neuroscience, somatic work, the discovery of profound insights about human consciousness, emotional regulation, and spiritual development, this integrated approach helps me understand not only how breathwork functions on multiple levels, but why it represents such a powerful tool for both individual transformation and collective healing. As an example, in evolutionary astrology, breath represents the fundamental connection between the microcosm, or the individual, and the macrocosm, the universe. The Greek word pneuma and Sanskrit prana both connect breath with life force or spirit. That reflects this ancient understanding that breath transcends mere physical function. There are many planetary archetypes directly related to breath work. Even Carl Jung recognized that breath serves as, he called it, a direct pathway to the unconscious, because the Latin root of spirit is spiritus, meaning breath, which is a connection Carl Jung noted in his work on psychological and spiritual integration. There are several key Jungian concepts that apply to breath work, as in the collective unconscious and shadow integration and active imagination and individuation. What is incredible about this work you're doing is it represents a bridge between ancient spiritual technologies and modern scientific understanding, models how society might honor traditional wisdom while validating it through contemporary research methods. If we are to understand breath work, we have to understand it through multiple lenses to empower individuals. It's an always available tool for physiological and psychological regulation. For a professional like yourself, this integrated understanding can provide a lot of scientific validation for intuitive or traditional practices. One of the things about breath work is it represents a remarkable integration point between evolutionary astrology's cosmic perspective, depth psychology's unconscious exploration, and neuroscience physiological understanding. There's this convergence that creates a powerful tool for transformation. Why? Because it addresses human experience at multiple levels simultaneously. For you as a practitioner, breathwork becomes not just a technique, but a direct expression of evolutionary purpose, where you're translating cosmic wisdom into practical methods that help others access their highest potential. Your 3-3 Metaverse Breathing Method exemplifies this integration because you're addressing contemporary challenges like stress and insomnia while facilitating deeper consciousness expansion. This is important to highlight as we face complex global challenges that require totally new paradigms and new levels of individual and collective consciousness. Breathwork offers an accessible, non-pharmaceutical, cross-cultural approach to human transformation. So its ability to bridge ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science makes it particularly relevant for our current evolutionary moment. Does that resonate with you?
Totally. I would love to have you on a podcast or a presentation where we're both on the speech, because you can bring it from that cultural and astrological dynamic and drill it down to the modern day concerns. You're absolutely right. Absolutely.
I was more interested in how you would resonate with that, because you spoke about insomnia was one of the key things that you're addressing at the moment. I wanted to pull on some of those different threads from evolutionary astrology, neuroscience, and depth psychology to say, why is this relevant today? How can we integrate all those things? And why breath work is so important? Because it isn't just the function of going, hey, I did some breath work and I feel better because I now have peaceful chemistry, so I have peace of mind. It goes deeper than that. Not only the individual consciousness, but also the collective consciousness. And I feel that's what you're addressing.
Correct. Absolutely. So I'll start off with this interesting quote from Swami Rama. Swami Rama was one of the great yogis who lived in the Himalayas for 40 plus years. He has a beautiful ashram healing center, 400 acres in Pennsylvania, in America. It's called the Himalayan Institute. And Swami Rama did a fantastic job of bringing the best of the esoteric East to the Western world. A lot of people still haven't heard of Swami Rama, but I strongly recommend, along with Paramahansa Yogananda, who's just an incredible Prem Avatar yogi teacher. Swami Rama said this, which is a very fascinating quote. He said, all of the body is in the mind, but not all of the mind is in the body. All of the body is in the mind, but not all of the mind is in the body. If you think about that carefully, that single quote has a huge import, because he's saying your entire existence of what you think is flesh and bone is already contained in the mind. But do you know what your mind is? No, you don't, because you've not been trained on what the mind is in your schooling system. So you have no idea how it works. You have no idea how big it is. You have no idea how powerful it is. And if you did, you would then be able to tap into that over 90% of your brain potential that you never know about. Use your mind to completely control your body. If you can control your mind, there's no end to the things you can control. So the body, even the what we call autonomic nervous system, involuntary functions, can be controlled by the mind. So disease processes can be controlled by the mind. Healing can be controlled by the mind. The senses can be controlled by the mind. Your interaction with the world, you can shield yourself from the world with your mind. But if you don't know how to unleash that power and practice and use it, you have no idea. And that mind is invisible. So it's not tangible to the senses. You have to work on it within yourself to understand its power.
If you engage in a breathwork session, which I see is the catalyst that can establish an ever-ready media for two-way traffic between you and mind and the universe, physiologically, if we bring it down to the practical and the material, to chemistry, physiologically, the nervous system will shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic dominance, which will reduce stress hormones like cortisol, reduce inflammation markers, and create neurochemical conditions for healing. Psychologically, with the reduced ego defenses allows unconscious content to emerge into awareness for processing and integration. You may be able to access karmic patterns that have shaped your current life challenges while simultaneously opening to new evolutionary possibilities. For me, that explains why breath work and the mind, what it can accomplish more in a single session, what might take months or years in conventional therapy, because it engages transformation at multiple levels simultaneously. Would you agree with that?
Totally. The fascinating thing is we should, as human beings, we should get our fascination back like children. Like we're amazed and fascinated and just wondering how things work and how amazing everything is and how beautiful everything is. Once we get back into that mode of gratitude, we can understand and intuit what is going on with our simultaneous different bodies. We have a causal body, an astral body, a physical body. They're all at the same time. Right. But which one are you tuned to, and how quickly are you able to access those different levels whenever you want? Are you experienced in that? Are you trained in that? That has a huge, vast impact on your entire life experience, and probably of those around you as well. They'll think you're a very strange Himalayan, immortal type of being, and they're just like, wow, like, how do you do that? I want to learn that too. So you're right. When we access hormones in the brain on a regular basis in a systematic sequence, we can then tap into finer mindful energies and have that as our habitual playground instead of the world being your habitual default. Your imagination and your mind and your inner world now becomes your default. You're consciously living your emotional home. And you don't see the world as your home. You see the inner world as your true emotional home. You live from that space, and then all the good qualities, the best, highest feelings, euphoria, bliss, or ananda, as they say in Sanskrit, become more and more a regular part of your life. Tapping these brain chemicals is very key. And with the transpersonal psychology and a lot of people studying psychedelics, a lot of top doctors like Professor Nutt from Imperial University, he's studying psychedelics heavily in terms of how to change the brain chemistry for someone who's depressed or suffering from addictions, how to change and positively disturb the brain chemistry so they can create new grooves of thought habit to make some improvements in their lives. When you can tap these brain chemicals through breathing methods, you'd be amazed at what it can unlock. Endorphins, which are pain relieving chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, which are feel good, happy hormones, anandamide, which is a bliss molecule in your brain, which we all have. And you could ask the question, why would human beings have anandamide in the brain if they were not designed to be happy? They wouldn't need it then, would they? Every human being has anandamide in their brain. You've just not been taught how to access it before. This method also activates the vagus nerve for the parasympathetic activation of the rest, digest, deep sleep, recovery from wounds, recovery from injury, recovery from abuse, surgery, whatever. When you can dial that in consciously and get all five going at once, it creates a huge leveraged effect in a very short time. And that's how you're able to accelerate your evolution consciously.
I was looking at your chart, and you have a remarkable concentration of planetary energies in Sagittarius, which creates an extraordinary coherence in your being, almost like a celestial orchestra where every instrument plays variations on the same divine theme. And your thoughts and feelings and values and actions, they all harmonize with your philosophical outlook and spiritual purpose. This integration explains the authentic power people feel around you. If you imagine a prism where white light enters, and instead of separating into disparate colors, it somehow intensifies into an even more brilliant beam. This is how the arrangement of your Sagittarius stellium, that means a whole bunch of planets in Sagittarius, functions, and it concentrates your life energy into a focused ray of philosophical purpose. With all of these natural alignments between different aspects of your being, how does this coherence manifest in your daily experience? Do you find this integration gives you a particular insight into helping others whose thoughts, feelings, and actions may be less harmonized?
Absolutely. When I didn't know any better, when I didn't know about how to navigate how the senses and the mind should be used, there's a beautiful analogy in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Hindu Bible. In Hinduism, we study all literature, all scripture, all religions. It's all the same for us fundamentally. A lot of people don't know that. We revere Jesus Christ as much as we do all the Hindu gods. So for us, there's no difference.
He was a rebel, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Turning over the tables in the temples.
And in India, they actually call him a Siddha, an avatar.
He was in India, wasn't he?
Yes. From the age 12, he disappeared from Palestine and he went to India, Tibet, these places to study yoga, to perfect his Kundalini awakening. He met masters there. They revered him. They received him. He learned the highest arts of Kriya Yoga, which is to open up the final chakra, the blooming lotus crown chakra. And then he came back to preach for 3 years and then crucified and transcended. So that was the whole plan. But can we just touch on your question a little bit?
Yeah, I was talking about the natural alignment of your Sagittarius stellium and how that manifests between different aspects of your being. I was curious about how does this coherence manifest in your
Got it.
daily experience? Do you find that
Yeah.
this integration gives you particular insight into helping others whose thoughts, feelings, and actions may be less harmonized?
Absolutely, that's a great question. Amongst friends, amongst our community, as we also have you, as you're kindly participating in Avatar DNA, it's all about helping people follow a pattern that leads to their own growth and the fulfillment of their own potential. As it follows the ethos of what Buddha said, my religion is to live and die without regret. That's it. That's my religion. It doesn't matter what you say, if you're a Jew or you're a Christian or you're Catholic or whatever. My religion is to live and die without regret. So if I see people that may be friends or relatives or clients, and I feel I can add some extra value to them because I see they're not happy, I can see something's not aligned, I can see they're doing this forward and backward dance between positivity and negativity. I try and teach them you don't have to feel oppressed by anything. You can let go and just code all of your thoughts positively, and then you'll just be like light. Let go of all the burdens. Nothing belongs to us anyway, right? So relax. You can drop all your burdens. You can let it go right now. You don't have to hold it another second if you don't want to. So you help them, give them new mind frames. And I know this science is absolutely universal, can work for everyone. And the fact that I can teach it and elucidate it exactly the same every time for every person, they're like, oh, that's what you said 2 years ago. I said, yeah, did you adopt a little bit? Oh, no, maybe you should. If you're feeling a bit depressed, it's going to cause some knock-on effects. It's going to compound if you don't deal with it now. So let's have a little chat. Let's see how we can organize your mind to get you in a more positive state so you feel happier about yourself. And that science is something that can be taught. It's a pattern. It doesn't belong to me. I'm just a curious little monkey who just likes to find things. And how does that work? Why is that like that and not like that? Mummy will say, I will stop asking silly questions. I'll say, but why, mummy? I'm still that little kid who's, well, why though? That's how I find the answers eventually, because I keep questioning it within myself. So if I don't get the answer from outside, I'll get it from inside.
You have a lot of fire in your chart, which makes me curious about the earth element, because elements are important in finding balance, harmony, and stability. Your blueprint reveals tremendous inspirational and conceptual gifts, but with potential challenges around practical implementation. You may have overcome some of these things. And what comes to mind is a hot air balloon. It's capable of soaring to great heights with the compression of fire and can offer extraordinary perspectives, but it needs careful grounding, ropes, and ballast to navigate effectively. Developing earthly grounding practices will help you channel your visionary fire and air energies. I remember when I was in the States and I met a master glassblower who harnesses the power of fire to create beautiful, useful objects. So I see that part of your challenge may involve giving concrete form to your expansive visions. Are there any specific practices that help you ground your expansive visions and philosophical insights into practical applications? And if there are, how do you bridge the gap between cosmic consciousness and daily implementation?
That's a beautiful question. I love that concept or a great idea, phrase from Paramahansa Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi, which incidentally, a lot of people may or may not know, but Steve Jobs of Apple, he absolutely relished that book. And Paramahansa Yogananda and all the great avatars from Self-Realization Fellowship, they're featured on the Lonely Hearts album, Beatles, right? Their faces are on there.
Yeah.
People may not know, but they are actually on there. He said when he was given the experience of cosmic consciousness by his guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, he was amazed, transcended the planet. He was standing there in the ashram of his guru, but he had this incredible cosmic experience. He could see in all directions. He was limitless. His soul streamed out of his body. He could hear the cosmic sound reverberating across the universe. And he's just transfixed by observing all this. And he's saying, this is the destiny of all of us, to have this experience of your true identity. When Sri Yukteswar slapped him on the chest and contracted him back into his body, he felt so upset that he had to be coming back to the material plane and the material body. And then Sri Yukteswar said, you mustn't become overdrunk with ecstasy. You've still got work in the world to do. Your soul in your daily life has to stretch over the cosmogonic abysses, but your body has to perform its daily duties in the world still. So even though you're having this cosmic consciousness, you still got your material duties to fulfill. I like to engineer things down. I do martial arts practices. I write programs for myself and other people, short Tai Chi programs you can do for 3 to 5 minutes to enhance your flexibility, your mobility, to stop feeling pain. This is grounding exercises to get you optimizing your physical body so you can have a more effective, functional approach in the world. For example, I love doing stuff because I appreciate my body, because I use my mind in everything. So even if I go shopping, is shopping mundane? Yes and no, because ultimately you're living a cosmic experience anywhere. But if you can just realize that going shopping means, oh, you're breathing, you're using your muscles, you have to carry things. So why not turn it into a training and a workout and appreciate that? So I do that all the time now. And I tell all my clients, all my friends to don't just go and wash the car and think, oh, it's a chore, I've got to get it over and done within half an hour. No, turn it into a workout. Wax on, wax off, as in Karate Kid, right? Do some workout, make your muscles, keep you fit. Because you're going to do it anyway, so you may as well enjoy it and get some training out of it. So you don't have to go to the gym after you finish washing your car. I like to engineer things down into practical steps that people can appreciate, even mundane activities. It was a challenge at first because I used to just love to think big. Hey, that's great, but how do you help other people benefit from that if you don't communicate it, if you don't write it, if you don't put it in a book, if you don't put it on a YouTube podcast, however you deliver it? You've got to create some legacy value, write it down, do a video, do podcasts. You've got to keep on teaching and learning as you grow. So I really appreciate that a lot more now than I used to, because I used to be in my head enjoying these big ideas, but I didn't have the wherewithal or the ideas about how to implement that into concrete form. But now I do it all the time.
You bring in frequency into chemistry. In other words, you bring what is unseen into the seen, you bring the ethereal into the material. As you say, it's all very well to have these ideas, but then how do you practically ground them? I can see you bridge traditional knowledge, spiritual growth, personal development, and collective transformation. I believe your mission was to help 1 billion people reach 100 years happily. Is that right?
That is right. There's a subplot to that, because that was my original mission several years ago. But since we've advanced the breathing methods and realized how you can accelerate your healing through the breath, we can niche down. And I would love to wipe insomnia from this planet. I would really love to do that. Because of our method, people have been doing it and say, you know what? I couldn't sleep for years. I took all these meds, but I did your method. And within 30 to 90 seconds, I fell asleep. And I said, you know why? It's because of that cascade of all those neurochemicals that you have are released all at once into your bloodstream. That's why it's having such a powerful leveraged effect. So I'm very keen to help the 800 million people on this planet who have insomnia to overcome it with a natural remedy with no side effects.
I see it as a soul level signal. I'm talking about insomnia here. I see it as an indication of an internal misalignment, an unintegrated trauma, or a resistance to surrender of some kind, whether it's the fear of letting go, having an overactive mental body, unprocessed emotional content, or energetic hyper-awareness. It could be any of those things. I think that intention with insomnia reflects this archetypal pattern I'm seeing, because it offers humanity a path to integration of body, mind, and spirit through your unique synthesis of ancient wisdom and contemporary methods. As you contemplate this next phase of your journey, which aspects of human potential do you feel called to help others develop? What cosmic gifts do you feel are waiting to be fully expressed through your unique contribution?
That's a fantastic question. Again, I'll bring to mind Autobiography of a Yogi, because a lot of people would say to me, Raj, that book's amazing. And you say, yeah, it's amazing. Many friends of mine have it on their bookshelf. I said, yeah, it's on your bookshelf, but did you actually apply some of that stuff to your own life? No, it's just a great story. I said, yeah, but it's more than just a great story. But they will say, Raj, we don't expect you to embody all of that stuff. Oh, you're not thinking of that, are you? I say, yeah, I am, actually, because it removes me from the matter of factness of life, that we're just material beings with material bodies, which I cannot resonate with at all. To a certain extent, yes, because we have to do our practical stuff. But on the other hand, live within our true identity. In autobiography, they talk about how the planet is made of materialized thoughts. I feel like there's so much negativity in the world at this point that if we transmuted that negativity, which only brings around suffering and misery anyway, if we turn that towards the light, we'll have more and more people as a critical mass having that energy, that electromagnetic sharing of positive vibes will start to spread across the planet. The more minds can engage in these happy thoughts and these happy ideas, and that God is not a tyrannical dictator somewhere on some throne in the cosmos, doling out horrible retribution. There is a working of a law of karma, which works autonomously, as the Buddha said, and it has to be executed. However, there's lots we can do to alter karma. Babaji said, Avatar Babaji from Autobiography of the Yogi, he hears people's woes and cries and suffering. They hear it all day long. Now, they will send people who are light workers to do something. One of the things I feel very humbled to do is when I hear this kind of idea, this message, this inspiration, is to say, God is not a tyrannical dictator. When we die, he doesn't want to hear from his children, which is us. Oh, I had a terrible time on the planet. It's horrible. What's all that about? That's mental. He doesn't want to hear that. It doesn't please him to hear that. Because it's his show and it's his planet, he will send people to say, look, lots of people are crying. They're suffering. They don't know the way out. Please teach them this and alleviate their suffering, their pain, their physical suffering, their disease. Get them out of that fix. Teach them something better that you know is coming anyway in evolution for humanity. People already understand about inflammation being caused, like you mentioned earlier, about being caused by corrosion and acidity, which creates disease formations in the body. Now, if we reverse that with prana, with life force, with chi, we bring electromagnetic power into the nervous system, into the immune system, we can now start to alkalize the bloodstream. When we alkalize the bloodstream, all of these diseases and inflammations will begin to disappear. And it's not magic because you're just balancing or offsetting negative energy for positive energy. That's what I want to do to help wipe out, if I can, the 10% of the world. That's 800 million people with insomnia. And beyond that, people with ADHD, there's about 22 million people in America with ADHD, autism, 68 million people globally. If we can help to arrest and reverse some of these negative symptoms, we'll carry on applying it in different ways to help as many people as we can. That's how I feel we can reverse a lot of negation energy on this planet, which causes no end of conflict, depression, no end of people jumping off bridges and causing havoc for their own families. It's terrible what we want to do to help alleviate these problems.
You're assisting people in the elevation and mutation of their nervous system.
Exactly. Mutation, I like that, like aliens or something.
I sense this is partly what is happening in this next era, is the mutation of our nervous system. All these things that you're talking about, using breath work, using ancient wisdom with contemporary methods, is going to help people rewire their neurons and help their nervous system mutate in such a way that it will elevate to a point of the next stage we are destined to arrive at. Your soul is here to illuminate the paths to expanding consciousness through accessible methods. The extraordinary concentration of Sagittarian energy in your 10th house, which is your public house facing outwards, how you appear in public, combined with an Aquarius ascendant. Aquarius is to do with society. It's the humanitarian aspect of things. You've got Jupiter and Pisces. This is a cosmic signature of someone designed to translate expansive spiritual truths into innovative forms that elevate collective consciousness. It's like bringing divine fire, like Prometheus, bringing divine fire to humanity. You're here to make transcendent experiences available to those who might otherwise remain disconnected from their higher potential. When you reflect on moments when you felt most aligned with your deepest purpose, what common elements do you notice? What were you doing? What impact was it having on others?
That's a fantastic question. I think now, because I think about these things so much, they're embedded in my psyche, my subconscious mind now, and they're taking on a power of their own. So if someone will call me at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and they want to talk about some relationship problem, I can do it. If I want to talk about some physical health problem, I can do it. If I want to talk about some financial problem or some mental problem they're having, I can do it. Because I've been doing it for so long, these things are becoming more and more second nature to me. I think about these things all day, pretty much every day. I read books about it. I study, I ask questions, I join seminars, watch podcasts about it, and have talks with people, amazing people like you, who are very knowledgeable about evolution, astrology, about it as well. It's about being able to serve at a moment's notice. Whoever comes upon my path, I have to add value to them. It's my ethos. It's not even about, oh, don't do it, you're tired now. Oh, you've done your 9 to 5. For me, there is no 9 to 5. My career is in God. So they say my vacation. I don't need a vacation because I'm already doing what I love doing. So I don't need separate time to go on a vacation because I'm already living my dream life, my ideal life. So why would I want a vacation from my ideal life? That's why I feel everyone should be living an ideal life, adding some contributing value that gives joy and happiness to others, but also you get it back as well. It creates a virtuous cycle. That's what I do all day, every day.
The ultimate purpose of recognizing one's soul mission and shadow aspects is integration and transcendence. Like a master weaver who takes threads from many colors and textures, some bright and beautiful, and others are darker and rougher. It creates a tapestry of extraordinary beauty and meaning. This represents your evolutionary journey toward wholeness. When I looked further into your chart, it reveals someone with remarkable gifts, but also specific challenges. But they all work together towards the emergence of an integrated being. So you can serve as a catalyst for others' transformation. The fire that dominates your chart becomes most powerful when it learns to warm without consuming and to illuminate without blinding. So your capacity to inspire others reaches its fullest expression when anchored in practical implementation and emotional intelligence.
Wow. Yeah.
I can see this in the breathing techniques you've developed. They represent one manifestation of your deeper purpose, helping humanity reconnect with its divine potential through accessible practices that bridge body, mind, and spirit. As you contemplate the next phase of your evolutionary journey, what aspects of integration feel most calling for your attention? How might deeper integration of your gifts and shadow amplify your capacity to fulfill your soul's purpose?
That's a beautiful question. That's beautiful. I think about these kind of things all day, pretty much. When we die, we want to leave this planet better than it was. I'll always look at it and say, well, what did I do to help people, to help the planet, to put a smile on the planet's face when I leave? That's what I want to do. So by putting a smile on the planet's face, I will say, okay, I need to reach as many people as possible. I need to teach as many people as possible. The health and the fitness one has been an all-consuming passion of mine for years. Even before I studied the higher sort of esoteric sciences, even before I met the avatar, I was still heavily into health and fitness and physiology and anatomy myself, just reading books, encyclopedias on health, anatomy, and how the body works. But it wasn't until I studied yoga that I began to realize that studying these concepts in isolation from the mind is not going to help you because you're just studying concepts that will be locked away in books. You're not the embodiment of that knowledge yet. So you need to be a walking, talking, breathing, living embodiment of the wisdom you gather from books. And then you could say that book is worth space on my bookshelf. Otherwise, what's the point having 2,000 books in your bookshelf and you don't understand anything from any of those books? And you've not gotten stronger or more powerful or more wise from any of that. So what's the point? You have to digest that knowledge and make it your own. And then you can say, yeah, I know something that could help add value to other people. So for me, health, fitness, and wellness, they all tie in together. And the deeper aspects, when you talk about the breathing, that connects the essential bridge between the body, the mind, and the spirit. Now it opens up a whole vista of, I don't just have to deal with health. I can also deal with spiritual integration, purpose, potential, meaning, moods, feelings. Are they dialed in? Are they helping you? Are you destroying yourself? It opened up the whole vista more now than I ever believed would be possible. Wellness, feeling good, is a good start because society is more dialed into that now, especially after the pandemic. They're looking for drug-free ways to feel well, go on yoga retreats, do acupressure, acupuncture, cupping, yoga retreats. All these things are becoming more and more popular now. The specific breathing sequence that can bring quick results in a compacted amount of time is very appealing for the current day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I see there are many evolutionary lessons for you in your cosmic blueprint, in your chart. You're a soul engaged in integrating these polarities of tradition and innovation, expansion and structure, individual needs and relationship demands. These integration challenges aren't separate from your life purpose, they are your life purpose. When you work with these consciously, you transform personal challenges into professional wisdom. The breathing techniques, the relationship coaching, the insomnia work, these are direct expressions of your integration journey. As you continue to harmonize these polarities, your effectiveness as a guide and a mentor will enable you to be an agency of amplification for others, and that will increase naturally.
Yes, absolutely.
Where can people find you, and do you have any parting words?
Absolutely. I think this has been an amazing conversation. The time just flew. I wasn't even aware of it. I'm living more and more from the heart space, as I'm sure you do a lot. And that's just a very joyous, magnetic, infinite space to live in, which I prefer that. So thank you very much for that. People can find us at keepfitkingdom.com. So keepfitkingdom.com, there's a section on the website called the 3-3 products and also the 3-3 insomnia hack, where people can find out more about how it works. You can buy a tutorial on there as well, ask us questions about how it works, how to apply it to different things. As well as insomnia, it also helps a lot with addictions. People have addictions to alcohol or drugs or weed or whatever it is. They're fighting with their partner. It can help you get into a flow state very quickly. So we're applying the 3-3 Metaverse Breathing Method to a lot of different problems, as well as the insomnia one was just one of those gateway results that just worked across the board for so many people so quickly. So we thought, okay, let's help get into that niche, help people with that, and spread it out to further things like autism, ADHD, relationships, and neuroplasticity, recoding the mind, recoding the brain, rewiring, like you said. Parting words, like Steve Jobs says, stay foolish. Be like a child again. Explore the hidden dimensions and faculties of your mind. They're infinite. You're infinite. Infinite energy and infinite consciousness. And we're all in the growth and expansion business, all of us.
Beautiful. Raj, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll do it again soon. Thanks.